I'm excited for this presentation. This is my very first time being at the Online Teaching and Learning Conference. I've only been teaching for a couple years, and I'm a brand new TGL this semester. I'm still trying to figure some stuff out. But I have been working on this project for a little bit, and I thought, it might be something that other instructors are interested in. So I was a little bit curious about, I'm figuring out that I'm a unique breed around here, that there's not a whole lot of science nerds around, which is fine. Okay. Am I alone? Okay, good. I'm not alone. Okay, so we got a few more nerds in here. Fantastic. And how do the rest of you categorize yourselves? What other subject areas do I gather represented here? English.
Family studies.
Old Testament, family studies, art.
I'm a nerd of a completely
different breed.
We love art nerds.
We love it. Yes. Business. Fantastic.
Yes.
And yes.
GS 120 pathway.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a good variety of classes represented here. So this stuff, my experience with this is very specific to chemistry. However, I have tried to make this as broad as possible because I realize I would probably be the only chemist in the room. So let's go with, actually, I do want to start with one other thing. As I said, I've only been teaching for BYU for 2 years. And before that, was a stay-at-home mom full-time. And I really had thought that, I'd gone to grad school, I'd earned this master's degree, and that I was done. And that was that. And I had hung up my cap and my gown, and that was going to be it. And fast forward 7, 8 years, and my kids are getting older, and this opportunity came along, and I have been so grateful to be able to talk about the things that I love. I don't know what I do. Maybe art happens, but nobody wants me to come teach enrichment. It doesn't happen. Nobody cares that I have this unique set of skills. Nobody cares. But guess what you guys do? Well, hopefully you do today. So that's why I'm okay, I'm really, really grateful that we can have this opportunity. So a couple more things about me. I love home makeover shows. I think they're so fun. So this kitchen is adorable. It's just, it's cute. It's got a little style. I love the little subway tiles. So I think it's more interesting, though, if you know that this is how the kitchen started out. If you know that there was this transformation, that somehow they took a room that looked like this and transformed it into this, you kind of notice more. It's not just the cute subway tiles, but they've completely redone the cabinets. That's a lot more work that went into that than before. Testing some lights, figuring out what works. Strobing, I don't know. Okay.
Before and after.
Yeah, right. So, yeah. So this is, because you have both of these pictures, you can see more of the change that's happening over time. I've got a couple more here. So, on a good home makeover show, it starts off with these houses that are unlivable, they are ugly, they need some love. And they start on demolition day and they tear down the walls and they cut back the landscaping, and they begin, once they kind of get down to the good bones, then they start to rebuild them. They start to put in, the open concept living spaces. They put in some additional trees, and it really, as they're doing all this, you almost forget what that original home looked like until they get to that reveal moment. It gets the reveal, and they're like, oh, look, remember, this is what the room used to look like. And you're like, oh, yeah, I'd almost forgotten that that's what the room looked like. And so when you have these before and after pictures, it's easier to see where the landscape has been cut back, or where the additional bushes went in, or how that coat of paint brightened up the facade. You notice those little differences even more. So why am I telling you about this? My guilty pleasures? Well, I want you to try it for a second. Just try. This is an example picture, the before and the after. What sort of things do you notice that have changed?
Wallpaper.
Right, seriously, the wallpaper like years ago, right? So the wallpaper,
The island is white.
yeah, the island's completely different. They've gotten, and it's just the island. It's kind of hard to see, but they're actually, if you look up in here, the cabinets themselves were also that same dark color. They changed them, not just the cabinets on the island, but all the rest of the cabinets as well. Here are some of the things that I noticed. So yeah, the wallpaper, the cabinets, they've been repainted. The doors, obviously this awesome red door, although probably cute in a different way, is not there anymore. They've added new light fixtures, the drawer pulls, and there's lots of little details that they're able to pick out because you can compare it to that pre-picture, that before picture. So when we do this on the home makeover shows, we get to notice those details. Well, the same thing happens each semester with our students. Our students go through this transformation where we tear down their misconceptions. You know, on demolition day, we're kind of like, yeah, those ideas aren't gonna help you anymore. We gotta tear those down, we gotta put some new ones in place. I know that I specifically deal with a lot of misconceptions because of the nature of chemistry. Students have experience with the physical world, and then they come to my class and they have like, well, they have narratives, they have ways to explain these things that they've seen to themselves. And sometimes they don't always hold up. So we have to go through this demolition where we tear down those old ideas and help them build up correct ideas. The problem is that we don't take these before pictures. We don't notice where they start out, and so we don't see that change. It's that, you know, that thing where if you're with yourself every day, you don't notice how you're changing. Like if you're getting in shape, you don't notice, you know, how different your arms look, or maybe the definition that came out. You just don't see that if you don't have that before and after. So I am going to propose that it is important that we do this, that we take these before pictures of our students so that we can see exactly how they're progressing. And as they progress, we can help them and us. And I'll get into what I mean by that. Okay, so let's go here. So let's imagine I've got two students, okay? I got student A, I got student B. Student A, she is doing very well. She came into my class with some previous high school experience, and in that class in high school, she did very well. She probably was exposed to some analytical thinking skills in other areas of her life, maybe at home or in other classes, but she's got a good background. She's got a good idea of what's going to come, coming. And she probably would do just fine in like a higher level chemistry course, but she doesn't need it. Like she doesn't need like a 105, whatever. She just needs the 101. So she comes into my class overly prepared. And then I have my student B. My student B, she, maybe you, my art teacher. My student B came to class, and maybe she didn't have a great experience. Maybe she didn't take chemistry in high school, or maybe she didn't, just had a really bad experience. And because of that, she got turned off and like didn't want to come back. But eventually she found this passion for nursing, and she just had to take the class. I mean, she doesn't necessarily want to be there, but she has to get through it. And she also knows, like, I gotta get in the nursing program. I gotta do well. So I have these two very, very different students coming into my class. I want to know what the impact of my class has. Like, how do I measure this? So, so the first student, she comes in, she breezes through her assignments. She does very well. Doesn't really require too much of her time or effort. She earns an A. A student like this comes into the class, and she's going to have a very high pre-test score and a very high post-test score. Like, that's what that kind of student ends up. My student B, she works her tail off. She, pours over those PowerPoints. She watches all the videos. She's visiting with tutors. She's coming to my office hours. She's doing all the stuff, and she's using all the resources that we have available for her. And guess what? After all that hard work, she still earns an A. In the pre and post test, she's going to get represented very differently. She is going to have a low pre-test score, but her post-test score is going to be very high. She's going to have this great change over the course of the semester because she has put in all this time and effort. So we want these students to be represented differently because the course has impacted them differently. And so that's where we get to our first measure. Now, it's going to be a little mathematical, Just hang with me. I promise I won't get too mathy. The first measure that we're going to use is called gains. And the gain is a very simple measure of how much they improved over the course of the semester. So just taking their pre-test score, so I did that backwards, taking their post-test score and subtracting out that pre-test score gives you their gain. How much did they improve as a result of participating in the course? That's what we hope this measures. So let's see, for example, we're going to imagine we have a 20-question test. And my student A comes in and she scores a 15 out of 20. Maybe she's a little rusty on some of the other facts, and so through the course of the semester, she gets almost perfect score on the post-test, and she has this gain of 3. She has improved 3 questions from the beginning of the course to the end. That's how much the course has impacted her. Whereas our student B, she has gone from a 4, like this is like guessing, right? Like it's rarely that we have a 0. Usually around guessing, it's around 4 or 5s. So that's kind of our baseline that we're working with. So she comes in baseline, really just, I'm guessing on these. But she comes out with the same post-test score as our student A. They end up with the same score. So her gain is going to be significantly greater because she had this greater gain in knowledge over the course of the semester. So this is how the gain helps us to identify what the impact of the course is. Well, the other part of that is, what happens if I have another student? And let's bring in, we have a student C now. Student C, she comes into the class. She probably has a little bit of knowledge, but maybe she doesn't really exert herself. She doesn't participate, doesn't train all of her assignments. And so by the end of the course, she's only improved a small amount. So she starts out as 6, maybe, let's say, and then she ends at a 9. So here's the thing. Her gain is exactly the same as student A. But those students have been impacted very differently. Student A has a near perfect knowledge of the concepts, whereas student C she's mastered less than half of the concepts. We need a way to distinguish between those students, to identify, okay, who is improving. So a lot of this has to do with how much could you improve? What's the possible amount of improvement? And so that's going to bring us to my second measure that we use to measure this, and it is this thing called normalized gains. Now, the easiest way to think about normalized gains is it's just a percentage. It's a percent of the total. So how many questions could a student get right? And then how many of them do they actually end up getting right? So in our student A, so her possible is 5, because she missed 5 on the beginning in the first test. So she missed 5. So she could have answered 5 more additional questions right. So, but she got 3 of those. And so she got, a 0.6 or like a 60%. She gained 60% of the knowledge that she did not have at the beginning. Whereas student B, she gained, almost 90% of the knowledge that she didn't have before. Well, and as you see here, our gain for student C, where it was the same as student A, now has changed. It is now more representative of what the actual impact of the course is. So this is why we use normalized gains. So kind of just review, remember, it's the pre-test, post-test, that gain, and then dividing it by that total possible. That's the number, that's the magic number that we're going to be using to compare how students improve over the course of the semester, over the course, let's just say that. Let's see, there's a lot on that slide, I want to make sure I can see. Okay.
So this is all fine and dandy afterwards, but it's too late then to go back and help students.
You're right. So we need to do something about that, don't we? So that's right. So we have to collect a baseline. But then we're going to go back and, so over the course of one semester, we're going to collect data. And then we can do something with that data while we're collecting the next set. And I'll get into that, I promise. I wanted to get these basic ideas out of the way so that we can talk about now what do we do with this. Because So we did this. So when I rolled up in BYU-Idaho and I started teaching my course, we had a concept inventory that we were administering pre and post tests. And I was like, yes, this is like what I did my thesis work on. This is fantastic. I'm in love. And so I waited a semester and two, and I was like, so where's the data? Like, what are we doing with it? Right? Let's use it. And nothing was happening. And I was like, I know how to do this. Can you let me have it? And they did. And they let me have the data. And so I got this one semester's worth of data. So this winter 2015, I got this one semester's worth of data. And it was a mixed bag of online and on-campus students. The exact same course. We teach it both online and on campus. And we had collected data on both of the groups. So I went through what we just talked about. We calculated gains. We calculated the normalized gains. I calculated averages for the pre and post test. And this is what we came up with. So you can see here that I have, my splits, I have my averages, and I have my gains. There's a couple interesting things I want to talk about here that we noticed right away. Anything you guys noticed? What? Online's doing better. Yeah. Which I don't know. Yeah, not a popular thing with the on-campus professors. They didn't necessarily love when I recorded this, but this is what the numbers say. I mean, it's not like, don't shoot the messenger. But it was really interesting because we noticed that not only are the online students, but they start out higher. And they do. So that's one thing to notice. Like, their pre-test is higher. Their average is higher.
Is it open book?
What?
Is it open book, or were they looking up?
Oh no, this was on the computer. This was like, you were not supposed to be, it wasn't open note, wasn't anything like that. You're supposed to be just doing it. And I should also add, this was not for a grade. This is just, if you complete it, you earn the points just for having done the assignment. There was no incentive to cheat, which is an important part of administering it. So thank you for bringing that up. So yeah, so we noticed in, like, as we print all the numbers, the online students on average are answering one additional question right. So then but is that significant? Does it matter? I mean, so we got to figure that out, right? We got to get our statistics out. We got to okay, is this significantly different? So what we did, I ran what's called a two-tailed t-test, which is just, it's looking at the distribution. You have to have normalized distribution in order to get this to work. So nodding heads, love it. Okay, what's following me? Okay, so this is my two-tailed t-test. So the null hypothesis, which basically is, okay, can we support, does this data support this? There's no difference between the two. And then you calculate a p-value, and if the p-value is less than 0.05, then you can reject the null hypothesis. That's what this calculation does for us. And so we end up with 0.04, which tells us, in fact, that yes, there is not just like an actual number difference, but it's a statistical difference. There's something going on here that separates these two groups. And I, did this, I was like, oh, so why is that? Like, what's happening? We want to know. So yeah, all of this told us is that there is, in fact, a difference. But then we can use this measure and maybe separate it into other little groups and say, okay, well, why? What's the difference? Okay, so a couple of follow-up questions. The first one was, well, does it have anything to do with the instructor? And so same, ran a t-test. No. I ran a correlation on that one. And there's some different teachers. And my p-value, my p-value was 0.1. So guess what? It has nothing to do with who's teaching it. So that's interesting. I mean, we can't. Anyways, you need to have something qualified teachers, but in the end, the results that we're seeing is not due to the instructor. So then we asked other questions. So maybe it has to do with pathway. Not too long ago, President Gilbert came down to Arizona, and he did a little pathway meeting down there, and he talked about how the pathway students are outperforming every other group, which I know we have some pathway teachers in here, and you should be congratulated, because the students that are coming through this program and who are matriculating into BYU-Idaho are outperforming even the returning moms who were wearing that medal of the best performing group for years. the online student, the pathway students are outperforming them. So maybe it's because we're getting these matriculating pathway students into these online courses. Maybe that's what the difference is. Oh, the other thing is, well, maybe they're retaking it. Maybe we have more people retaking the online course. Maybe they tried it on campus and didn't work for them. It's like, well, I'm gonna try it online now. So maybe that's a reason for it. Maybe there's more exposure. Maybe the people who are taking it online have more exposure to the topic. If they've had a year or two of other chemistry courses, it's obviously going to result in higher scores. But this is my favorite question. Like, maybe there is an unequal distribution of the high-performing students. And what I mean by that is, I hear that chemistry online, that particular course, has a reputation of being difficult. So my thought is, well, maybe the students who are taking it are only those who feel really qualified to. Maybe who have the confidence, who are like, yeah, I got this, and I can do this. Maybe that's who's ending up there. Maybe there's this unequal distribution. So we have all these questions, like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's try to. And I figured out really quickly that we had a significant hurdle, and that was getting the data. I'm just, at this point, I was just like a remote instructor. I live in Arizona, and I'm like, hi, I need help. I know that you're trying to transition to Island 3 right now, but could you please give me a few of your man hours to go extract this data from Brightspace? Yeah, let's say that that didn't receive the warmest reception. I tried to, I haven't been able to get my hands on the data. Like, this has been our major hurdle, was just getting the data. So, I will say that as I was working on this project, I had an amazing TGL. My teaching leader, Eileen Neffer, she was also my OCR, and so she worked well with me, and she was excited about the project, and she was trying to help me. In addition, Brian Lemon, who was the course lead, was a fantastic help. So I'm like counseling with these people, saying, okay, well, what are we gonna do? Like, we think we've got some good data here, we don't know, what do we do? And Brian Lemon suggested, well, maybe we should go a different route. Maybe we should just try something different, because if this is going to be this hard to extract the data every single semester, like, we need to find a different route. And so he was the one who suggested, like, why don't we try Qualtrics? So we know Qualtrics now. You're doing all of our reporting and everything through Qualtrics. And so he's like, yeah, go try it. So I did. Qualtrics has been amazing. It was incredibly easy to use. So if you're interested maybe in doing your own pre and post tests and you want to build something, you may want to do it in Qualtrics, and here's why. We had a limit in the ability for us to build questions that we wanted. Specifically, we needed to be able to use images in our questions, and not just in the actual question, but also as answers. We have questions that are like pictures of beakers. Which one of these best represents the idea that the question's about? So they need to be able to select a different beaker. Well, some of the other ways of doing this didn't provide me that opportunity. And maybe, in other courses, like in art, I can only imagine, like, there's going to have a visual component. Qualtrics was fantastic in letting us do this. Now, I had the advantage of, I already had all my questions already written, and it took me a matter of a couple of hours to transition all of this over. It was actually the beginning of this semester. You remember how we had that, like 2 days between semesters? Guess how I spent my 2 days? I was like, oh my goodness, this was so easy to transition over. We could get this done in time for the next semester. Let's bust this out. So we did, and we got it all put together. The other advantage that Qualtrics has is that you can add your own demographics questions. So instead of having to dig through BYU-Idaho's database and getting special permission to look at stuff, because you know how that goes sometimes, you can come up with your own questions. So one of these was, have you taken a chemistry class before? So what's your previous exposure? This kind of gets at that idea. So after we get done, I can sort my students based on this, and I can figure out what is this explaining why we have these differences that we're noticing. So you can add your own demographics questions depending on what your needs are or what things you're curious about. You know your courses, and you know what things might explain the differences that you're noticing. So you can ask these other questions in follow-up so that you can navigate out of these data. Let's see. Okay. Sorry. So hopefully by this point, you're considering adding a test to your course. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what your test should look like. What sort of things to consider with your test. There's a lot of details that go into this, but I'm just going to do a little overview and hopefully this will help. So the main point is that your test matters. Please be very thoughtful when you're putting together your test, because if you write a test that is, well, let me get into this. Kind of goes without saying. This is, when I was preparing this, I called this my duh slide. It was like, well, duh. Like, of course your test matters. And of course, you should cover the important concepts. And of course, your test should be balanced. And what I mean by that is that you should have an equal distribution of questions over those important topics. You don't want to have, too many topics on two or three topics have the majority of the questions and then have, one or two on these other ones. Like that's going to give you a skewed result. It's going to put too much weight on these other topics. So you want to make sure you have it balanced over the things that you're considering important for yours. And the last, this is my baby, the distractors. The distractors are the wrong choices in a multiple choice test. That's what they call them. They can be incredibly informative. So when I was doing my master's originally, my project was to write a chemistry concept inventory from scratch, like to do it from the very beginning. And my idea was that I would go into the literature, into the research, and find out what are the common mistakes students are making. What are the misconceptions that are tripping our students up? And then I would write specific distractors for that misconception. So not only am I gathering data on how many students are, like what they're answering correctly, but I know which ideas, specific ideas, they are holding on to over the course. So then the idea is, well, if they are holding on to this idea, can I design an intervention? Can I add something to my course that's going to specifically address this common misconception? And if I can I switch my course route? Yes.
Quick question.
Please.
I may not be familiar with this. Could you explain what a distractor is?
Yes. So a distractor. So imagine like a multiple choice question, and you have your 5 choices.
Okay.
One of those is the correct choice.
Right.
The others, distractors. So they're the wrong choices.
Why do you call them distractors?
Because they distract you from the right one.
Are they intentionally, like they're close to the answer, or?
No, they're not meant to trip you up on purpose. It is just a term that they use generally for, and like that's what they call them. If you were to do the research, they call them distractors. Okay. But the idea is just these wrong choices aren't arbitrary. They represent ideas that the students really have.
So you would choose your distractors very carefully.
Yes. And I have an example,
okay.
And I think that might help kind of clarify that. So great question, perfect lead. They're going to think I planted you. After all this, what we can do is we can do a conceptual analysis. We can actually look at individual concepts and how are we doing on. So I'm like, I wish I more on phase changes. How are we doing on acids and bases? We can look not just at the course broadly, but at the individual pieces of the course and say, how are we doing on this? And then we can change. Yeah.
When you're doing this, are you talking about changing your course from like one semester to the next semester, or do you try to cater learning in that semester from what your students have shown on the pre-test?
Usually it takes time to do the analysis, and so it's always after the fact.
So you're hoping to do it for the next, make some changes for the next semester?
Yeah,
okay.
And even if those changes are just, this is still in the process. And I'll get into like where we are and what the plan moving forward, but we're still very early on in what our plan is. And then we were just rewriting the test to put it into Qualtrics so we could actually get the right data for this semester. We're piloting it now.
Okay.
And so I don't even have my first real set of data yet. So we haven't crossed that bridge just yet, but I will talk about what the plans are. Okay, so let me talk just really quickly. One more basic idea I want to make sure that we understand. The conceptual analysis I talked about. It's that focus on, so you group together the questions that are on the same topics, and then you can look at those answers and say, okay, how are we doing? Are they getting the answers right on acids and bases? Are they getting, okay, so they're doing well on this topic. What are we doing right? You can kind of go from there. And that's what I talked about. You can check to see what they're doing, not just in their overall course, but on that specific topic. And then this leads to in-course improvements. So the idea here is that you can design an intervention. Let's say that I have a large portion wrong answer. Well, I maybe am not addressing that in my current instruction. Maybe my course is missing that. So then I can design something, even if it's just in my notes from instructor or my announcement page. I can add that to my course and then see if it makes a difference. I can design an intervention, implement it, and then look at the results again. And then if the intervention is successful, then I can implement it for all of their teachers and say, hey, I did this, it made a difference, let's try it for the other sections as well. Okay, so I am working, in addition to BYU-Idaho, I teach classes at the local community college. And guess what, they're doing the same thing. They have their own little test, and I'm gathering data, same sort of deal. I was like, oh, cool, we're doing this. I used to do this. This is neat. I thought we're doing it. And then I was there for a couple semesters, like, oh, so what's happening with the data? Nothing. And I was like, I can do this. Let me help you. So I started crunching the numbers. I did all the data that we previously talked about. But the main thing is I got to their test. And this is what their test. This is the topics their test covered. The numbers next to those topics are the number of questions that address that topic. Probably noticing some issues already. One, this is what we actually cover in the course. Yeah, problem there, right? Like with those things that are not covered on the test. So we have no feedback on whether or not we're doing those things well. Problem. Here's the other one. What's that? Yeah, we have. Yeah, but not that important, right? Yeah, so this test is imbalanced. Like, all it's telling us is if our students are better on that one topic. So I figured all this out. I went back to my course lead on a community college campus. I was like, we need to do something about this. Like, this isn't working. So they agreed, and we applied for a grant, and we got information. I mean, we got money. You know, I just finished rewriting the test for that campus, and this is what we now have. We have all of the topics that are covered, and we have a more even distribution of the questions. I think this kind of goes within that category, like we need to do this. But really, like, look at your test and think about what is it that I'm asking, because it makes a difference. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. So here we go. Representative of what kind of questions we're using. Now you can, of course, adapt this to your own courses, but there's two things I want you to notice here. There is no advanced math going on here. There is a graph, there are pictures, there are short explanations. I do not want to be testing math skills. That's not what I'm interested in. So be very careful if you have the overlap in your course, that you are testing just the computer science concept or just the business concept, that you're not trickling over into a math or an English issue. Make sure your wording is clear, that your students aren't getting it wrong because they don't understand what the question's asking. Like, that's a problem. So that requires a little bit of research, sometimes student interviews, to make sure you're doing that right. The other thing, I am a big advocate of making sure that they are visual, because it also helps to communicate beyond just words what the ideas are. I know that that's not always possible, but when they are, it's good. And the last thing is, have at least 2 questions on each topic. So that way you have what's called internal validity. And that is, you can see, are the same students answering these 2 questions correctly? Are the same students answering these 2 incorrectly? Like, if that pattern holds across the topic, then usually that tells you have an internal validity that that's going to work. Okay, so now we're going to get to our distractor question. This is what I'm going to get at, and then I'll wrap this up soon. So, this is the question, okay? Beaker of water boils for 30 minutes. What's in the bubbles? That's what we call it. What's in the bubbles? So what we've shown here, so the N is the number of responses that I have, and then next to each response, there is the number, the raw number, and then the percentage that number represents. So the bolded answer, which is gaseous water, is the correct answer. So, and this is our post-test data, unfortunately. So we're getting about a quarter of our students actually answering this correctly. And this is for my community college campus, this isn't for BYU. But we're noticing this, right? So this is the distractor that we're hung up on. Okay, so then what we did is, okay, well, how are we gonna help them figure out that you cannot boil apart molecules? Like, that doesn't work. So we introduced this thing, which looks really complicated, but it's really not. So let me give you a quick, this is called a Hoffman apparatus. It's a piece of glassware. It's continuous. It's got a funnel up here. You can pour in water. It's other stuff too, but water basically. And it fills it all up. This is connected across here, and then you can open these stop clocks so that this whole thing is filled up with liquid, the whole thing. And then down here, we have some electrodes, and you can connect a wire to them and run a battery through it. So you're running electricity through your water, and guess what happens? It starts to bubble. Okay, so then we say to our students, okay, well, what are the bubbles? And so we brainstorm, well, what are the possibilities? So probably oxygen, hydrogen, and there's one more.
Air.
We get air sometimes, that's more fun. So we have air.
And it could be just gaseous water.
And it could be just water. Okay, so how do we tell the difference?
Light a match.
That is exactly what we do. We light a match, so how is that different? So what's water gonna do?
Nothing.
I mean, it's gonna put it out, or yeah, it's water. What about if it's oxygen?
It'll burn brighter.
Burn brighter. And what about hydrogen?
Blows up.
Thank you, Hindenburg. Everybody knows that reference. They know what we're talking about. So yeah, so we do this and we show them. And guess what happened? So I had a video, but I couldn't quite figure out how to like get it so I could play it for you guys. But it basically, you get on one side you get hydrogen, on the other side you get oxygen, and you actually get twice as much hydrogen as you do oxygen. So you have this. You get this H2O. There's a 2-to-1 relationship. This is actually how we introduced stoichiometry as well, which, yeah, I'm like, okay. So then we go through this, and you can collect it in little test tubes, and then, yeah, light it up, and the hydrogen lets off a really high-pitched, like, squeak as it's, like, exiting, and then we get this explosion, and then you can blow out the ember, and then so you have just an ember glowing, and then stick it into the test tube, and it ignites again because of pure oxygen. And they go, oh, that's how it is. So they're building these ideas off of their experience. So that, okay, well, could this be happening on your stovetop? Like, no, I had to run electricity through this to make it happen. And then we got 2 different sources. Like, this is not happening on your stovetop. That's going to be a very different. So we're trying to help you separate these ideas. So this is the intervention that we have included. So maybe they'll start to, improve and do better on it. So I'll do this really quickly. Alvin the Younger, right? He's I don't know. I've been going through some stuff lately, and Alvin the Younger is like my buddy. He had some painful moments, and I found sometimes I felt some painful moments, but he was a great guy. I mean, he turned out to be this fantastic church leader, and he was a great dad. Like, we could get the words that he left to his sons and like the sincere concern that he had. But I propose that the reason that his story is so great is because we know who he was before. We know what a bad guy he was. And because we know where he came from, and we saw the great change, we have hope. Like, maybe I can have that great change too. Maybe I can. And so I think that's part of the reason why we should have these pre and post tests in our own classes, is so that we can get that before picture of our students, that we can then measure this course impact. Right now we've been coming out with these courses in Island 3, and some of them I know they're really thought through, but they are this first effort in putting out a course online. But we are to become the Lord's University in definition. Like, we're going to be defining online learning. We have to have a way in order to measure where we're at so that we can continue to move forward. I think that pre and post tests can be that vehicle to move us forward, so we know more about where we are and if the step we've taken is a step forward for our students. With, of course, the ultimate goal of becoming and providing to our students the best possible education we can. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity. I love this stuff. I'm such a nerd. But like I said, I am grateful that I have the opportunity to be involved with this university. It is such a blessing in my life. And Jesus Christ. I'm trying to leave more time. I apologize. But yes.
So I have a question. Have you ever looked at the pre and post test and seen if they're answering the post test wrong, if they're answering the same answer wrong on the pre-test?
So there's
like
no
they
change.
pick C on the pre-test, they pick C on the post-test.
So that's where we're headed. Like once we get a good set of data, I just don't feel like we've had a good set of data yet.
Okay.
But that you can absolutely do that.
Okay,
Like my
so
database they're huge and they have every single answer for each student, and you have to like match up the student's pre-test with that student's post-test, and then you can see their change individually over time.
Because my question is how do you administer a pre-test without getting something that's wrong stuck in their head? Like, if you ever played the game Two Truths and a Lie, which one do you remember? Do you remember the two truths or do you remember the lie? You always remember the lie. And it's actually a horrible getting to know you game because that's what you remember about people until you're too liars. And so I'm kind of wondering about pre and post tests, about getting a concept stuck in the students' heads because they try to think through it logically and then they say, okay, this is the one that makes sense to me now. And then having that affect their learning because now they have that stuck in their head and not being able to move past that because they thought through it logically to them.
So
does that make sense?
It does, it does. Remind me what you teach?
Science.
You're a science.
Yeah.
Good, that's right, we're nerds, I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
So my response to that is, if our course is adequately addressing that concept, then that misconception should get dislodged. And if it's not, because it's one exposure, one brief exposure. And if over the course, if we're not able to dislodge that misconception, then maybe we need to be more aggressive about it. Maybe there's something that needs to change in that. So I would look more at course design rather than be afraid of implementing a pre-test because of that. Does that address your concern?
Yeah.
Okay. And there was a hand person in the back, and then I'll come
I just wanted to know about the incentive for students to perform well.
This is a huge
Why
issue.
wouldn't they just go through and choose C and submit and I got my 5 points?
Okay, so what we do is on the first one, usually during the first week, so this is administered week, intro week or week 1. And usually during that time, everyone's like good to go, excited about doing the class. And so they perform without incentive. It's when we get to the end. So yes, we're not, So on the last one, what we do is they have to score above, and I can't remember now if it's like a 30% or something. They have to get above guessing in order to actually earn the points. So it's a very small incentive. They don't have to ace it. And we haven't heard any kickback from that. The students have bought in, like, okay, as long as I don't guess, I'll get my points. So that's how we address that. But there is a lot of debate on like whether or not we should even be doing that. And I say not just here, but like generally, like in the other pre and post test instructors that I deal with. So I'm gonna go, Bill, and I'll go over here. Yes.
So go
Yes.
Yeah, how about the second question? An example came to my mind. My wife is an artist, so I noticed when she started painting a picture, she paint the entire canvas the brightest color she can find. Right?
It must.
Okay. Okay.
And I was like, why are you doing that? And she says, that way I know where I'm missing information.
Makes sense.
But again, with the wrong answer, you know exactly what is missing.
Thank you, but I appreciate it. Oh wait, I promise her first, and then you add it.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was curious what instructions you give students on these tests so that you can say to them, don't get too stressed out about this, but also do your best. I mean, what's the little instructional statement?
So I usually tell them that I am interested in what you currently know, and this is going to impact future courses. And usually they will buy into the greater good idea. So yeah, it is like this, I just want to know what you know. This is to help me evaluate me and help me evaluate the course.
Like, please don't spend more than 15 minutes on this or anything like that, or?
No, and usually, like, because the test that we use in chemistry is actually a 30-question test. I recommend that being max. Do not go beyond, like, I think it's a long test.
Yeah.
But yeah, we tried, because in iLearn 2, there has been like a suggested time amount attached to everything. I think that's almost, like, we haven't explicitly stated it because there is that like in parentheses.
What does it say for yours? I'm curious.
I think it says 45 minutes. Like, don't spend more than 45.
Would you really want them to spend that long?
Well, if
That's not too much.
you could, because if you're doing a 30-question test, it's a minute and a half a question, and that's not a lot. And some of them might take longer to like just process the question because it is visual. And usually on that week when they have time to do that. That's why I like to get that done. And then we administer the post-test during finals. So, and we tell them, like, this is a great way to like get a review of like, okay, here's everything. And so that's another incentive for them to actually go through and do it without looking, because it's like, what do you really know? Yeah, I'm gonna come here and then come back over.
Are you getting this implemented across all courses, both online and, or are you doing more course doing? Because to me, it seems that if you implement something of this nature, you've got to get it on campus and online to see that you're also in sync. Because I have students who are here on campus, and this is the only section they can get into, and you want to know that they go to the next course on campus and they're in sync with what's being done.
And that's a great point. And also another advantage too, because in our course, we had the support from the online faculty from the beginning, like, so that was,
Okay.
so they were already doing it before I even came on board. I don't know how that discussion initially came about, but they did. They put us all on board, and they were the ones who were really collecting all that data to help us. But I think it made a great point that you can decide we are still in sync, we are. And if one group's out performing, why? Let's try to figure out what that is so that we can all be doing it. Okay, and then I saw your hand back there.
So I currently have a pre-test and post-test built into my course. But we have never done anything with it.
Okay.
Only a couple semesters it's been in there. And where do I start? Like, what would you suggest is the first thing I start looking at when I compare those?
The very first thing you're going to want to do is calculate your gains. So this goes into how to build a database, and that's probably another discussion which you and I can have on the side maybe. But it is going through and making sure that because you have to match up each individual student with their pre-test results and then their post-test results. So I have a huge Excel database that has each of those students matched up, and then you go through and then calculate for each of them their gain. And then from the gain, calculate the normalized gain. And then you can do simple t-tests, like the one I did for, so what I would do is I added another column that identifies the students either as online or on campus. And from there you could do a two-grouped t-test, and it allows you to get a simple look at it. And that probably isn't the only other reason I did teacher, because I had that data, but I didn't have anything else. Those are the only two questions I was really able to look at. That's why we're adding the whole Qualtrics part of it, so that we can expand the number of questions we can look into.
Because I would like a before and after. I think the gains thing seems something reasonable that I could do, and just kind of compare it semester to semester. And then because I am the OCR, maybe recommend, hey, we are missing this concept. Can we think about how to do something else?
Yeah, I think that's that. And then you have data to back you up. You have actual numbers, and somehow that makes things more powerful. And you're like, I feel like we're missing this. It's like, well, the test actually shows we're missing this. Like, I think that's one of the advantages of doing that. If you have specific questions on how to do this, I can talk to you individually. I'll be here all week. So, I thought was there one other hand? Yes.
I was just gonna say that my conversations with campus faculty, the campus is very interested in student measuring.
Okay.
And so chances are, if you go to your campus faculty and say, can I help you do this? They're gonna say,
Yes, please.
please. Especially if you know how to do what she can do, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is fun stuff. I think it's a very, very powerful tool. I would love to see it implemented in every single course, but I think we were talking earlier about the family, like a family science class, like what concepts, like how do you do that in a certain fashion? I think that's a challenge that you'd have to, it's a whole different type of hurdle. And I don't know that I would be great at it. I have some insight, but I don't know. But anyway, any other questions? Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I know this is like a very first class, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Brooke.